Thank you, Bharjinder. Good morning. I'm Councillor Diane Donaldson, and I'll be chairing this hearing of Subcommittee of the Licensing and Public Protection Committee of Birmingham City Council. Before we start, can we all please mute your microphones for the moment in order to improve the sound quality whilst I outline the procedure. Can you also turn off your cameras with the exception of the committee members unless you're the person speaking? This is to reduce bandwidth. Committee members will have their cameras switched on throughout the hearing. Could everyone attending today's meeting please put their mobile phones on silent and ensure they are situated in a room or environment which is free from distractions or any unnecessary noise emanating from radios, TVs, etc. Thank you for that. I'm speaking slowly and clearly so everyone can follow. It is vitally important, for what I hope are obvious reasons, that those attending the meeting and making representations are able to hear me and members of my subcommittee. Any distractions brought to my attention could be temporarily or to another date and time under the regulations for these types of meetings. I also confirm this is a public meeting and is therefore being live streamed on the City Council's website in order that the general public can view it. I advise that this meeting will be webcast for live or subsequent broadcast via the Council's meeting YouTube site, the link which you can find in the agenda. And that members of the press public may record and take photographs except where there are confidential or exempt items. Members are reminded they must declare all relevant pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests arising from any business to be discussed at this meeting. If a disclosable pecuniary interest is declared, a member must not speak or take part in that agenda item. Any declarations will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. I confirm no apologies were submitted for today's meeting. Can members who are present agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of March 2022?
Agreed.
Agreed. And the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of April 2022 at 1200 hours?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. Can I welcome you to this hearing for an application in respect of Le Garden Bar and Grill, Unit 7, First Floor Solar Works, New Bartholomew Street, Birmingham, B5 5QS. I'll begin with some introductions. My name is Councillor Diane Donaldson and I'm chairing this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. With me are other members of the subcommittee, Councillors Mary Locke and Adam Higgs.
Morning, Chair.
Morning. Morning both. Also present in the meeting are the following officers. Licensing Officer David Kennedy.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning. Committee Manager Katie Townsend.
Good morning, Chair.
And Committee Lawyer Joanne Swampillai.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair.
Could I ask all parties to identify themselves, please? Firstly, the applicant, Liam Williams.
I am Leon Williams. I'm representative for Le Garden Bar and Grill.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning, Liam. And Russell George.
Chair, we don't have anyone else on behalf of the applicant.
Fine. Thank you, Katie. And next, those making representations, Harry Bevington, Environmental Health.
He's not present, Chair.
Okay. And Alison House, Brian Mullen.
Morning, Chair and Committee. Brian Mullen, Alison House, Support Manager at Alison House Hospital.
Good morning, both. Thank you. Can I ask if any persons making representations wishes to withdraw their representations at this stage of the hearing? David?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to confirm that we've received notification from Environmental Health that they are willing to withdraw their representation to the application on the basis of the applicant agreeing to submit a noise management plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. Okay. Right. I'll assume that all parties have read and understood the Licensing Committee's procedural rules sent out with the notice of today's hearing. Please note that given the nature of today's hearing proceedings, I may at my discretion amend the procedural rules to reflect the fact that this meeting is taking place online, but wish to assure you that any such amendments will not impact on the party's right to a fair hearing. We will be using the chat function. Well, unfortunately, this morning, my internet connection is down on my laptop, so I'm using my phone, so I'm not able to access the chat function. So if we can, if people need to make a comment, can they just raise their hands? We'll take it that way. We'll eliminate the chat facility for this meeting. If any participant has dialed in on audio telephone rather than Microsoft Teams, please speak now to confirm that you can hear and be heard. So as I'm dialing in, can everybody confirm that they can hear me and see me clearly?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Alison, you've raised a hand. You're on mute, Alison.
Sorry, Brian Mullen here. I was just confirming that I could hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's just showing up as Alison House, so I'm not sure who was speaking. Okay, thank you, Brian. Right. So we can all hear each other. With the exception of the subcommittee members, please keep your camera off unless you're the person speaking. If there are any problems with bandwidth which cause difficulties with the sound, I may, in my discretion, ask everyone to turn their cameras off in order that the meeting can proceed with everyone able to hear and be heard. Does anyone wish to make any preliminary points at this stage? If so, please indicate that you wish to raise a point by typing speak, well, by raising a hand, as we're not using the chat facility. No, I can't see any hands. Thank you. I'll now briefly outline the procedure which will be following at today's hearing. Firstly, the Licensing Officer, David Kennedy, will present the report. Then the applicant will be asked to present their case. We are asking if this could be kept to approximately 20 minutes. Then those making representations will be invited to present their case. We are asking if this could also be kept to approximately 20 minutes. Can ask all parties to speak as slowly and as clearly as they possibly can, because the officers are taking notes by hand for the minutes. And the meeting is also being live streamed on the City Council's website. If at any time it's somebody else's turn to speak, please mute your microphone and use the chat function to communicate if necessary. Please note that members of the subcommittee will be able to ask questions at any stage, but we'll try to do so at the conclusion of each presentation. Cross-examination by the applicant and those making representations will not be permitted unless the members consider it appropriate. Where questions are raised by members present, they must signify this using the chat facility set out on the right-hand side of the screen you're viewing the meeting on. The meeting manager will alert me if I do not notice messages in the chat, which we're not going to be using. I will determine verbally or in writing, verbally, the order in which questions are dealt with. Problems with your internet connection, please raise your hand and speak verbally to alert the meeting manager. The chair will then ask the person speaking to repeat what they have just said. It is therefore important that you alert us as soon as you're unable to hear the person speaking. It may be that the problem is caused by people still having their microphone or cameras on, which creates interference. So we'll remind everyone to please mute your microphones and turn off your cameras when you are not the person speaking. Could I point out occasionally it may be necessary for subcommittee to take legal. Any time this meeting goes into private session, the meeting manager will pause the live stream. Once the private part of the meeting is over, I will ask the meeting manager to confirm that the live stream has resumed before we continue. At the conclusion of the hearing, I will invite all parties to make a brief closing submission. Can I stress that no decision will be taken until all the evidence has been heard? At the decision-making stage, the members and all relevant officers withdraw from the meeting in order to determine the decision. They will go into a separate Microsoft Teams meeting. In the event that the members need to clarify any point, you will be telephoned by the meeting manager. The members will then make their decision. You'll be decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. So I hope that's reasonably straightforward. So with that, can I ask the licensing officer, Bapindra Nandra, to present the report, please, as slowly and clearly as you can, please.
Thank you, Chair. Leon Williams applied on the 22nd of March 2022 for the grant of a premises licence for Le Garden Bar and Grill, Unit 7, First Floor, Solar Works, New Bartholomew Street, Birmingham, B5 5QS. The purpose of the report before the committee today is to consider representations that have been made in respect of the application for a licence which seeks to permit the sale of alcohol for consumption on the premises to operate from 1 p.m. until 10 p.m. Sunday to Thursday and 1 p.m. until 3 a.m. Friday and Saturday. The provision of regulated entertainment, which initially consisted of live music and recorded music, to operate indoors only from 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. Friday and Saturday. After discussions with West Midlands Police, the applicant has agreed to cease live and recorded music at 3:30 a.m. on a Friday and Saturday. To permit the provision of late night refreshment to operate indoors from 11 p.m. until 3 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Premises to remain open to the public from 1 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. Sunday to Thursday and 1 p.m. until 4 a.m. Friday and Saturday, with a condition agreed with West Midlands Police of a last entry time of 1 a.m. Other dates and times as specified in the application form. Representation had been received from Environmental Health as a responsible authority, which has subsequently been withdrawn as a result of the applicant agreeing to submit a noise management plan. A representation has been received from other persons, which is attached to Appendix 2. The application is at Appendix 3. The conditions agreed with West Midlands Police are at Appendix 4. Site location plans are at Appendix 5. When carrying out its licensing functions, a licensing authority must have regard to Birmingham City Council's statement of licensing policy and the guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182 of the Act. The authority is required to take such steps as it considers appropriate to promote the 4 licensing objectives. The options available to the committee today are to grant the licence in accordance with the application as modified, to reject the application, to grant the licence subject to conditions modified to such an extent as considered appropriate, exclude from the licence any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, or refuse to specify a person in the licence as the premises supervisor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. Would the applicant like to make their presentation now, please?
Morning. Just checking, if you can hear me and see me, Chair?
Yes, we can, Leon. Thank you.
Okay. My application is just going to be short and brief, as I was under the impression that this was going to get sorted on yesterday, Monday. So I'm not really prepared for this. And it's something new to me. So what's happened is the guy just gave me a few notes to read out, if that's okay, as my representation. As I said, I wouldn't know what to come in and say. So I'm just going to read these notes that he's asked me to. Okay, it has been acknowledged by EHO and also a complainant that the issue historically associated with the venue have not taken place since ourselves have taken over and run events. It seems that the big area of noise leakage has been addressed, which was the old smoking shelter, which is no longer being used. Unlike other venues, local access and egress is via a two-door which corridor entrance system now, and protocols are that only one door will be open at one time, except in emergencies. This reduces noise emissions. The sound system has been fundamentally changed to reduce noise leakage. The interior fabric structure is a solid brick wall with no leakage gaps. External promoters and artists are being briefed and controlled with regards to the NMP. There are actions in place from the NMP which have been accepted by EHO. The council's EHO objection was withdrawn on a condition that a noise management plan was drawn up, which has been accepted. Noise readings have been taken to assess the acceptable noise levels inside. Following these reasons, it is clear that the NMP is followed. Then there should be no need to employ a sound limiter, as we are confident that we can keep this to an acceptable noise level. Going above these showed us the sound itself would be uncomfortable and distorted. Noise limiters are to be used as a last resort only, although employed in other venues where are confident that because of our noise management plan, it will prove unnecessary. Again, this has been accepted by EHO. Adequate staff will be on duty to control the immediate footprint and monitor loud customers and rubbish, etc., etc. We encourage cooperation with other venues and also the complainant themselves to maintain a good working relationship.
Sorry, I've broken my own rules there. Can I?
No problem. And then he's just giving me these controls and actions. We will employ enough SIA staff not to only provide security, but also to be able to assist with ensuring customers avoiding causing public nuisance so far as a reasonable practicable. This will be assessed on an event-by-event basis, but adhering to all of the licensing objectives is of paramount concern. Staff will undergo training on the licensing objectives that will be logged and evidence kept on site, such training will include awareness of this plan and how to uphold this particular objective. Doors to the venue will be kept closed as much as they can. The front entrance has a two-door system, so the protocol will be only to open one door at a time, except on main egress, where the noise levels will be reduced. Good contact with the other venues to coordinate efforts on the overall impact on the local area will also encourage, we will also encourage contact of knowing which events are going on, timings and attendances, etc., to assist with the planning. A dedicated telephone will be on site at all times. and not belong to one member of staff or management. This will always be monitored to take calls from local people and authorities if necessary, and the number advertised outside the building, as well as disclosed to the noise sensitive locations such as the hostel. We will check and assure ourselves that the promoters will be willing to comply with our conditions, although we will not be having outside promoters, but we will also let them know if we do in advance what these conditions are and disclose these actions to them, asking them to agree with these in writing. Overall control of the mixing desk will be remote and under the remote control of the venue manager, and we will brief the promoters, artists, and DJs of the need to keep within the levels, and the fact that we have the ultimate control to control this. A sound check will occur before each event, running the system at different levels to match these to the noise readings taken inside and outside the venue. These levels can then be put on the mixing desk. Particular attention will be paid to the external sound systems, although this will be greatly discouraged. During the loudest part of the sound check, where possible, a quick reading will be taken at the noise sensitive area to ascertain that the levels is not excessive. A noise meter will be employed inside the venue and checked regularly by the shift manager, and noise levels will be managed to not exceed the agreed level of 105 dBA. Internally, generally this sound should be kept below 100, and for quality purposes will usually happen anyway. Internal readings along the sound check reading will be logged for each event. Noise monitoring will not be undertaken at a noise sensitive location unless there is a specific complaint, as when the other venue are in operation, it will not offer a clear indication that it is the garden that is the source of sound. The sound level will be reduced gradually during the last 30 minutes of the event to assist customers in adjusting to the outside noise levels. Should the overall attendance depreciate before the scheduled end, then this will happen sooner. This will be gradual to achieve 50% by the end. And then I've got just a load of readings which we took on Friday. We've done a sound check. Yes, Chair, that was the notes that I was given to by the Noise Management Plan Company and my representation who submitted the application for me. As far as I know of, we have had a previous complaint from the hostel, which was late last year, which was when we first opened. But when we first opened, we used to hire in a sound entertainment system, which obviously what was the problem? They were way too loud for our venue. So after being contacted by Mark Swallow, about the complaint from the hostel, he gave me certain plans and ideas how to reduce the noise, which was obviously by our own sound system and put it in so we can control it and have it there for every event, so the sound will never exceed above what it's supposed to be. We've done all the noise, the doors, to keep all the doors closed, the smoking areas being changed. So yeah, that's my representation. And yeah, as I said, if there was, the last thing I want to do is be a disturbance or a complaint to anybody or our neighbours. I only wish Brian would have contacted us first to kind of, ask us to keep it down before making a complaint. But I understand he's got business and he's getting complaints from his residents. So, and yeah, ever since that, we've had no complaints. I've had over 15 events after that, and there's been no complaint. So I was just guessing that what we've done has worked. So, yeah, that's my representation, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Leon. Thank you. I'll move over to members. Are there any questions from members?
No questions. Thank you, Chair. I have a couple.
Yes.
Leon, you mentioned staff training plan. How often will this take place? And also the noise meter checking and everything. Will that be? How often will that happen?
Okay, so we check the noise meter reading will be checked every half an hour by a member of the bar staff because it will be placed behind the bar. The staff training we've done every month, every end of the month, just to brief. They were briefed before they get the job, and then just to keep everybody above board, we will do every end of the month.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, Leon. We'll move on now. There's no further presentations. Would those making representations like to make their presentation now, please? And I believe we just have Brian Mullen from Allison House today.
Hello, it's Brian Mullen here. I'm just trying to activate my video. I'll try that as I'm speaking.
Okay.
My name is Brian Mullen. I'm one of the support managers at Allison House Hostel. The hostel's been there about 50 years. We have up to 25 residents. They have multiple and complex needs. We deal with alcohol problems, learning difficulties, medical issues, a whole gamut of problems. We work very closely with Cypher Fireside and with Crisis, who are both based in Digbeth. There are several venues close to us that operate at night, including Hennessy's, Meriden Bars Limited, and in fact the Warehouse Cafe next door, which is part of the Friends of the Earth complex. We have certain conditions in place with them, and we coexist very well with them, not causing a problem with each other. They can run their events, and we are able to continue with our residents. The whole point of the hostel is to keep people who are very, very difficult to house independent and out of the wider system where it gets very expensive both to house them and to treat them. If these people end up in hospital, they become acute cases very quickly and will have long-term stays in hospital. So getting some rest and having the support they require is paramount to sort of keeping them independent. Our main concern is that at night they will get blasted out with bass music and won't be able to sleep. And if that can be addressed, or with the patrons leaving the venue, if there's excessive noise, it will wake them up. And then we essentially come into a whole gamut of issues the next day that were completely avoidable. Le Garden first came to our notice late last year. I think it was in November, when we were disturbed by bass noise from a venue and we didn't know what it was. We contacted Environmental Health and they considered it sufficient enough to put us on the out of hours service where we could call out officers, I think up until 3 a.m. in the morning. The officers were called out and they discovered that the venue was Le Garden that was causing the problem, and that's when they then made contact with Leon. Apologies about my camera. I've been trying to turn it on, but for some reason it's resisting that. So I can spare you looking at me. They contacted Leon. It would have been nice if Leon had actually come and contacted us. We have been there 50 years. We're quite well known in the area. It's known there's a hostel there. We're established. We run quite a good operation, I'd like to think. We take referrals from the council, from hospitals, from Crisis, Shelter, Cypher, as I've mentioned before, and we have some of those people coming into the building, providing support and aid to the residents as well. So directly related to Le Garden, this is a warehouse essentially that has been is taken over for this venue, unless I'm mistaken. There are no real noise protection measures in the building. It's just a building that is being used to promote events. We're obviously concerned with the extended hours to 3 a.m. But if we have not on the latest out of court, we had 2 out of hours services that we were registered for, one from the 3rd of the 12th to the 23rd of the 1st, where we called officers out and they did identify Le Garden as the place causing the noise. They don't actually see them on the night. They then contact afterwards and they established a dialogue with Leon. We were also put on the out of call register between the 18th of Feb and the 17th of April, for which we didn't need to call them out. So whether something changed or they toned down events, I don't know. Conditions that we'd like to see put on, and I'm not sure if these are addressing the patrons leaving the venue. Can they leave through the New Canal Street, Meriden Street side, rather than New Bartholomew Street? Because if a lot of patrons come down New Bartholomew Street, the hostel faces New Bartholomew Street, and it will essentially wake up the whole front of the hostel. A noise limiter, a lot of the procedures seem to be related around manual procedures and checking this and checking that. And one of the issues is that as the night goes on and people get more and more excited as they're at the venue, some of these things seem to go to the wayside. Maybe we have to see how that goes or not, but we will, if we are disturbed, call out environmental health. We will be on the phone to them the next working day, and we will say we want to be on the out of service and have the ability to call the officers out. We see all that as a massive waste of time, to be honest. We prefer proactive measures were put in place so we weren't disturbed. The garden can function properly and we can function properly. There is a real rubbish problem at the moment on Bordersley Street that we are reporting every other day, and it's bins that are overflowing because the rubbish is not managed properly. And I'm not saying this is Le Garden, but it'd be good to know where their rubbish bins are being placed, when they're being collected, and what their rubbish management plan is, because then street cleaning are having to come down and clean up the road when the issue shouldn't be happening in the first place. If the bins are put out on the correct day and they're collected, we don't then need to waste money clearing it all up. It may be that they're doing that the other side, that they're doing it within the old Latif's sort of complex. I don't know. Bottle banks, we would request that it may be in there anyway, that they're only emptied during working hours. And rubbish is only put out not at times that could disturb the residents, because throwing bottles into bins and stuff will wake the residents. It also says in some of the conditions that complaints will be logged. We have no idea how those complaints are going to be logged. There has been mention of a phone number. We have no idea of that. We have only just heard about this noise management plan, and we would request that that noise management plan is made public and that we have a chance to review that. So I have had some communication with environmental health yesterday, and we've only just heard about that noise management plan. So really it's controlling this live recorded music until 3:30 in the morning. If the residents don't get sleep, they will go into crisis, and we and other agencies are going to have to deal with that. I'm glad I've seen Leon. I mean, maybe we can get together and have a chat. Just as he said, it would be nice for me to come to him. Actually, it would have been a lot easier if he came to us, because we were established. I have no idea who is in the old the Latif's warehouses now. They seem to be used for a variety of activities on short leases, while the sort of high-speed 2 development happens around there. I think that's about it. I'd just like to emphasize that we're not trying to close down people doing things. We just want it done in a responsible manner. We already coexist well with, as I said, the Warehouse Cafe, Hennessy's and Meriden bars, and that seems to work well. So there's no reason, if this is handled responsibly, it can't work well as well. But we're concerned about numbers, volumes, and those extended opening times and patrons leaving in the early hours of the morning. There was a couple of other things. We'd request no alcohol sales outside at all. I think there is a restriction that alcohol consumption doesn't happen in the smoking area. And I think that's the end of my submission.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. I see that Leon has his hand up. Would you like to come in, Leon? Maybe come back on some of those points.
Hi, yeah. Yeah, it was just to clear up some of the points that Brian made. first and foremost, I did try to come to the hostel to see you, but it was I couldn't find how to enter, to be honest. This was after the first complaint. So I did try to contact you, to be fair. Regarding the noise management plan, I did submit this on Friday to Harry Bevington, which is the licensed authority, I believe, and he did say he was going to submit it to yourself as well. So I'm not sure why you didn't receive the noise management plan, but yeah, it's not a problem for you to see that and go through it and see what we have in place or what we plan to put in place. I'm happy for you to see that and to put it up for public to see that as well. Regarding the bin situation, the bins, well, first and foremost, let me explain it. You said we're a club in an old warehouse. We're just got a fraction of the warehouse. In that warehouse, there are, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4 other businesses operating. Another one is a club, a men's members club, which is underneath us. Then right opposite yourself, I'm sure you'd have seen there's a big warehouse. And then on the side to you, which is at the actual Bartholomew Street, which is where the rubbish problems coming from, is they're a courier company. I'm sure you must have seen all the vans coming in and out. They are the problem, the one with the rubbish. But that is on New Bartholomew Street, which is opposite your hostel, I do believe. Also, right next to you, as I'm sure you're aware of, is the snooker hall club. And when I go past there, I do see like 4 or 5 bins which are overloaded. So the rubbish has nothing to do with us. When we do have an event, we've got our own car park with our own bins. We've never been round to New Bartholomew Street or Borsley Street with no rubbish or bottles. So I'm not sure why that's involved in this. Regarding our customers leaving the venue at night time and disturbing your patients, they never leave onto New Bartholomew Street. There's only one way to get into Le Garden, and you have to come on New Canal Street. You have to turn right. Now, in front of our establishment, we have a car park that can car park 50 cars. Our venue only holds 200 people. We have a car park right opposite us that hold another 100 cars. And to our right, in front of our main entrance, we have 2 massive car parks which hold over 400 cars. So there's no reason for our customers to be anywhere near anywhere near your hostel. As you know, to come up to our club, you have to turn right before you go up the hill to your hostel, which is on the left, and no one ever does that. So if there are complaints or noise, I believe it's coming from the Shisha bar, which is opposite your hostel, which I'm sure you're aware of, and the snooker hall clients, and the club on the corner, they all park up on that road. So our clients never ever leave through to Bartholomew Street. I'm sure, as a matter of fact, that gate's locked at night time by the courier service. So I don't think they can even exit that way. So there's only one way, which is off New Canal Street. So there shouldn't be an issue with us, with our patrons leaving, causing a problem to your people in your hostel. So yeah, and in regards to the noise, since we've done all the noise plan and changed it since the first complaint, there hasn't been a problem. So, and in regards to the checking the noise limiter, I will be always on site. I will be there behind the bar watching that limiter and making sure it's always at the appropriate level. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Liam, can I just ask about the bottle banks? When will they be emptied?
If I'm honest, because we weren't fully up and functioning, we don't have, but I clear and take the bottle after each event, Chair. I take all bottles. Where I live, there's bottle bank, so we take all bottles home with us. I've got a little van, a little caddy van. We pack them all up in the van and take them because we can't really afford a bottle bank at the minute. So we never have bottles around there, to be fair, if I'm going to be really honest. We had no, plan of putting one there because we always take it home because there's just one right outside where I live.
Thank you. David, can you come in, please?
Yes, Chair, just to confirm that the applicant has stated in their operating schedule that and proffered a condition that the premises licence holder will ensure that glass bottles will not be placed in external refuse receptacles between the hours of 2200 hours and 0800 hours the following morning. So that will be, if the committee are minded to grant the licence, then that will be a condition on the licence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. Okay, Brian, you've got your hand raised.
Just very quickly, just to address Leon's comments, glad to hear the litter is not his problem, and that it sounds like it's being taken out the other way, the other side of the warehouse, which is towards New Canal Street. So that leaves us, and with the patrons, that's a great relief that they will be also leaving via New Canal Street, which would be a major headache for us. So that leaves us with the control of the noise, the music, given that we've had the problems before, but it looks like the noise management plan may address that. And if we have a chance to review that, maybe that's the way forward.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And do we have any questions from members? Thank you. Right, so we'll move on to the closing submissions. Brian, would you like to make a closing submission?
Yes, I did have an email from Harry Bevington, who Leon has referred to in his statement. He received some input from somebody that says, if the applicant decides to place the noise management plan before the licensing subcommittee in support of their application, then it will be in the public domain and accessible, and therefore accessible to all. So if Leon's agreeing to that, it will be part of this hearing, and then we can review it. And if there are adequate steps in there, that seems to be the way forward. If we find it's not adequate, we will then be coming back to environmental health saying they need to put extra measures in the noise management plan. If he decides not to put that in the public, we can request that happens, and the committee can decide that it is shared. So everything seems to hinge on the noise management plan from where we're sitting, and we haven't seen it to sort of see what's involved. That's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Liam, can I bring you in with your closing submission, please?
Yeah, yes. First and foremost as well, Brian, I should have said, I do apologise for the disturbance we did cause in the first place. It wasn't intentional. And like you said, we're business owners and we're neighbours. So like you said, I would love to meet you and discuss it and, you know what I mean, be good business neighbours. And if Brian's happy with the noise management plan, I'm happy to go with it and see how, you know what I mean. I just want a chance to prove that we can do it, and then we can just take it from there, basically. That's my proposal.
Right, thank you, Liam.
Sure.
Right, I will now ask all parties to leave the Microsoft Teams meeting, and the members, the committee lawyer and the committee manager will go into private session while the subcommittee makes its decision. You'll be notified of the decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.